Be sure to follow my Twitch over at twitch.tv/Daltnix. Thank you. With the Into the Light update, we got a plethora of fantastic guns back in our hands, such as Midnight Coup, Recluse, Mountaintop, but there were a few that were a little questionable picks from Bungie. If, you ask me, you know what guns I'm talking about, I'm sure. But overall, I figured it would be fun to go over 10 more guns that I think Bungie should bring back. None of these guns are currently available to get in the game right now, and some of them are sunset, a few of them aren't. And I know sunsetting is being, sunset, but for people who didn't get any of these guns in the past, or even deleted ones because they were told that they would never need them again, overall, some of these are fantastic guns. I am going to be looking at it as more of a PvP perspective for this list. If you'd like to see a PvE one, let me know down in the comments. I can definitely make that. And also, this is my opinion, so just because I say I want a gun back doesn't mean necessarily you'd want one. If there's any guns that you guys would want for PvP, be sure to let me know down in the comments what you're thinking. This is just my top 10 list. And lastly, I do not own all the weapons that I have on this list, just due to the fact that I deleted older ones, or I just never got them in the first place, to be honest. So I will grab some clips from YouTube, and any channels that I am using, their links will be down in the description, as well as their channel name on screen. Without further ado, let's get into the first one. The first gun that I would love to see come back, and I'm really disappointed it didn't make it to the list, is the Palindrome. This is such a good 140 hand cannon. You used to get it from Nightfall, so you could get an adept version, but this thing had a monstrous stat package, and when this gun first came out, it was fantastic. Everybody was grinding for it. Unfortunately, the perk pool hasn't really stand the test of time, because honestly, there isn't a whole lot there right now in its current perk pool. The best thing in the first column would probably be Killing Wind, maybe Quick Draw, but unfortunately, Quick Draw got nerfed, so it's still all right, but nothing crazy. And then the second column, there's honestly really nothing there since the rangefinder nerfs. Back in the day, if you got Killing Wind or Quick Draw with rangefinder, that was amazing, just because that was pre-nerf Quick Draw, pre-nerf rangefinder. Bungie would definitely have to fix up the perk pool on this one. Honestly, if they put Slide Shot and then something like Eye of the Storm or Explosive Payload in that second column, this thing would be a monster. You would see it every single game. I really hope Bungie at some point gives us Palindrome back and refreshes the perk pool to be pretty good again. And I really hope they bring it back through Nightfalls again, just so it can be an adept. Being an adept and getting those stat mods are definitely very, very nice for a lot of guns. Whether you want to get handling, range, whatever it may be, just getting that for free is fantastic. I would assume Bungie would bring the Palindrome back at some point, and when they do, I would expect to see this in most games you play. The next gun on our list is Dustrock Blues. Now, this is a shotgun staple. If you played back in Forsaken, aka Year 2, you saw this with Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten almost every single game. This shotgun has some crazy range on it. It's also a precision frame, which would be perfect for the meta we are in right now. The only precision frame that we have that is really, really good right now is the Fractifus that is in the kinetic slot. Obviously, we have the Matador that's in the secondary slot, but the Fractifus is really annoying to grind, seeing as you have to get it through Dares of Eternity. So I think it would be a fantastic idea for Bungie to bring this one back. For the perk pool, honestly, the first column's all set to go. It has Threat Detector and Slide Shot. Nothing really needs to change there. It's just that second column. The only thing you really have to look forward to on the current roll is Snapshot. I guess maybe Rampage, but not really enough ammo running around for that to really come into play too much. But if they put Opening Shot in that second column and you could roll Slide Shot or Threat Detector with Opening Shot, this thing would be one of the most used shotguns in the game. It would pair really nicely with our Igneous Hammer that is super, super strong right now. I'm honestly super surprised Bungie hasn't brought this one back yet with how recognizable it is. Come on, Bungie, bring it back. Don't be scared. Next up is Not Forgotten. Now, its younger brother, Luna's Howl, has returned to us in the game, and that is great. Luna's Howl is fantastic for people that enjoy it, but I want to see the older brother, Not Forgotten, return. This is just more of a range hand cannon over Luna's stability, and I definitely prefer that. I want more range on my hand cannon than stability. Typically, these hand cannons don't need a lot of stability because they're pretty easy to control as is with their 180 recoil. And I know Bungie said they would maybe be looking at Not Forgotten in the past, but I really hope they do bite the bullet and bring it back. The current roll of Not Forgotten actually has Zen Moment and Magnificent Howl on it, and I really hope they keep Zen Moment for Not Forgotten. They didn't give it to Luna, but Zen Moment is such a top tier perk right now. The increase to visual stability that it does is like, it's all right, but the real thing that makes Zen Moment so good is the anti-flinch. Whenever you shoot after firing 1 or 2 bullets at somebody, it makes it so you just don't flinch anymore, which is fantastic for primary fight, especially with how stable these precision frame 140s are. Besides just Zen Moment, I would love to see, Slide Shot, Eye of the Storm, Explosive Payload, all that fun stuff. Most hand cannons, you're wanting the same thing, so unfortunately there isn't a whole lot of variety there. But obviously Magnificent Howl is fantastic as well. But overall, I really hope to see Not Forgotten brought up to the current state. because overall, I do think it is a better hand cannon than Luna's Howl. And if you are enjoying the video, please remember to like and subscribe, as it does help out with the channel a lot. Thank you so much, and let's get on to the next weapon. Dire Promise. This is a 140 RPM hand cannon. Honestly, doesn't have the greatest stats. But this was the first hand cannon in Destiny 2 that I feel like really shook up the meta. Back in year 1 of Destiny 2, when Dire Promise launched through Dead Orbit, through the faction rallies, everybody was grinding this thing. It was a 150 RPM hand cannon, and it didn't have anything crazy in the year 1 version. It honestly just had triple tap, but it just felt so good. Something about this hand cannon's recoil pattern, it's super easy to control. It doesn't really go anywhere. The perk pool it had last time honestly hasn't aged super well, if I'm being honest with you. In the first column, you have Opening Shot and Snapshot, which are kind of whatever perks. Opening Shot's pretty good, but not the greatest on primaries. And then the second column, you have Rangefinder or Elemental Capacitor that could work. Rangefinder got nerfed a while ago, so it's not as good, and Elemental Capacitor really depends on what element you're playing, but there's still definitely better perks. But if they released Dire Promise with Slide Shot, Eye of the Storm, Explosive Payload, all those like top tier hand cannon perks, this thing would probably do very, very well in the current meta, and a lot of people would love it. Dire Promise is one of my personal favorite hand cannons, and I hope to see it return one day with a really good perk pool. Tail FR4, and I'm sure for some people they're getting Vietnam flashbacks of this gun because this thing was crazy back in the day. Back in the day, fusion rifles didn't have that low of a floor for damage, so if you got a lucky enough pellet spread from your fusion rifle, you could map somebody up to like 100 meters with it if you were lucky enough. Bungie has since changed that and made it so that is not possible anymore. But my god, this thing was the OG fusion rifle terror of the Crucible back in Forsaken. This fusion rifle is a high impact fusion, and it's got some pretty good perks on it even to this day. You have things like Under Pressure or Firmly Planted, which are fantastic. And then in the second column, you have Tap the Trigger, and none of the other perks are really all that crazy. Rangefinder's not bad, and Backup Plan you can make work. This thing could definitely use a bit of a perk refresh, and I'm not going to really say I'm a super fusion rifle connoisseur, so I'm not really going to recommend what I think Bungie should really change about it, but I know that this is an amazing fusion. And if you're a fusion rifle enjoyer, honestly, I'm sure you're still holding on to your Tail because I'm sure this is the first fusion you really enjoyed, because this thing, oh my goodness, back in the day, it would terrorize the Crucible. Alone as a God. Now, this is a 140 RPM sniper rifle. You got this back from the Leviathan raid back when that was in the game. It had a stat roll because it was a year 1 gun with triple tap or ambitious assassins with snapshot. Now, this sniper rifle, not only did it sound really cool, it just felt really, really nice. The stat package on it isn't anything super crazy, but I would still love to see this sniper rifle come back to the game just because it feels so good. And we haven't seen this sniper rifle since year 1, as I said, so we haven't really had a chance to try this thing with random whirls, which kind of sucks. Honestly, if you put Snapshot on it with Opening Shot, obviously that's the best combo you can get for a sniper rifle. I'm sure this thing would feel amazing, but you don't even need that. Realistically, give it Elemental Capacitor to give it increased stats, depending on what class you're playing, or even just give it Moving Target with Snapshot. I don't think any sniper-based perk would be bad for this thing, just because the handling is pretty high for it, being a 140. I don't really think you could go too wrong with this thing, honestly. Just because overall it just feels really, really good. The only downside it is a 140, so it's not the most competitive archetype in the game, but this thing just feels so good with its 79 aim assist, 45 zoom. It's nice in the sweet spot, not too zoomy, but also not too little zoom. I personally love Alone as a God, and am really surprised Bungie hasn't brought this one back, especially just because it hasn't been around since year 1. Bygones. You used to get this from Gambit back in the day, and this pulse rifle really packed a punch. This pulse rifle overall is pretty good. It's a 390 RPM, so give it a little bit of a damage boost, and that will drop it down to a 0.6 time to kill. Not the most meta with its base time to kill, but overall this thing is a fantastic pulse rifle. It's hard to explain, but this pulse rifle just feels good. I don't have one currently because I definitely deleted mine, and the perks that it could roll back in the day. Kill clip in the first column is pretty good, getting some extra damage. Like I said, it really helps out with these things. And in the second column, it has Head Seeker and Slide Shot, which are both fantastic. Personally, with modern day perks, I would love to see Zen Moment or Keep Away on this thing in the first column. Honestly, and then in the second column, honestly, keep Slide Shot or Head Seeker the way they are. And then honestly, just put Kill Clip in that column too. So then you can you can get a really deadly combo. I think pulse rifle lovers would be super excited to see Bygones return. And if you have never used the Bygones, this thing just slaps. It hits different. Kindled Orchid. Now, I would assume this is #1 on a lot of people's lists. This is a very popular hand cannon because of its crazy perk combo back in the day, being able to roll Kill Clip and Rampage, both at the same time, which this made it so you could 2-tap in PvP with damage perks, and you can actually still do that to this day. Kill Clip and Rampage, you can actually 2-tap anybody who is tier 6 and lower resilience, but if you put on 2 weapon surge mods, you can 2-tap any resilience guardians, making it so it can actually be a quick play monster. This thing also had some really good perks back in the day besides that, with rapid hit and rangefinder, or explosive payload in rangefinder. Even quick draw was really good back in the day. But this thing could definitely use a nice perk refresh, and overall, just a fantastic feeling hand cannon. I would love to see Keep Away, Eye of the Storm, Slide Shot, explosive payload back on it. And then, of course, I would love to see the Kill Clip Rampage roll back. I don't see Bungie bringing this one back without keeping the iconic roll. It is very much so a pub stomping weapon. I unfortunately never got this thing back in the day, and I was only able to use this weapon once. And I actually really regret not grinding for this thing more back in the day, not caring as much for it, because this thing I really think would be super fun to use in quick play. This one and Palindrome are definitely my 2 top options that I hope Bungie will bring back, just because I think they would be great in the current meta of PvP. Now, this next one, some people have probably never heard of. Braytech RWP MK2. And I know what you're thinking. This looks exactly like Polaris Lance, and you'd be correct. Back in year 1 in the Warmind DLC, you had to do a quest line for Polaris Lance, and you had to use this gun to get it. But this gun actually slaps. It's a 150 RPM, and it feels just like Polaris Lance. The only thing it doesn't have is the exotic perk. Now, obviously, being a year 1 gun, it had a set perk pool, and that would be, it had Zen Moment triple tap, which honestly felt really good. Using this thing for the couple games that I did, it felt amazing. Zen Moment is one of the best perks in the game, giving you increased stability, essentially, but also that anti-flinch. And on a scout rifle especially, anti-flinch is king. Triple tap's kind of whatever, but it's kind of nice because you don't need to reload as much. But they definitely could give this thing a fantastic perk pool. I would hope that they would keep Zen Moment. And then honestly, in the second column, if they would do it, honestly, put something like Keep Away. Zen Moment Keep Away on this thing would go crazy. I don't know if they would ever bring this one back just because it is so similar to Polaris Lance, but I really hope they do. They brought Rose back, right? Rose was for Lumina, so come on, Bungie, give us Braytech back. Then lastly, the Steady Hand. This is a 120 RPM hand cannon that you used to get from Iron Banner. And this thing is a fantastic kinetic 120, which we don't really have a whole lot of. The only one we really have is Sturm, which is an exotic. This thing is amazing. I am fortunate enough to actually have a good roll on this, and I actually pull it out every now and then. The perk column is actually fantastic. You have things such as Zen Moment and Slide Shot. Personally, I know I've been talking up Zen Moment so much, but I think Slide Shot is better on hand cannon. So honestly, I would go, my pick there would have be Slide Shot. And because it is an Iron Banner weapon, it actually gets the Iron Banner perks such as Iron Grip and Iron Gaze. Now, I would never go with Iron Gaze because that gets rid of 30 range, but Iron Grip, it gets rid of 20 reload speed, but gives you 20 stability. And that is the role I have. I have Iron Grip, Slide Shot, because you don't need to worry about reloading. And then you just get free stability. This thing feels amazing. And I feel like anytime I make a video using the Steady Hand, there's at least 1 or 2 people in the comment section saying how they wish they had my Steady Hand. And I'm honestly so surprised Bungie hasn't brought this one back with how strong 120 RPM hand cannons are, because if you refresh the perk pool, kept Slide Shot on it and then gave it like Precision Instrument, or if you move Zen Moment into the other column, or even just using Iron Grip, realistically, this thing would be amazing. I would love to see a Slide Shot Precision Instrument 120, if I'm being honest. And if they made Steady Hand that, this thing would take over the Crucible with how strong Precision Instrument is on 120 hand cannons. And it would also give people more of an option to grind. They would still have to grind PvP for it, but they wouldn't necessarily have to grind trials for it. So making it so more people could actually get a good 120. Because currently trying to grind an Igneous Hammer with it, that being the best 120 in the game by a long shot, just due to Precision Instrument, makes it very, very annoying for a lot of players. So I'm really surprised Bungie hasn't brought this one back, just to give other players a chance. Its stat package isn't anywhere near as good as Igneous Hammer, so I don't think it would really be that crazy. If you have an Igneous, you'd still be better off. But this is in a different column as well, and it is still really, really good. And that's it. Those are my top 10 weapons that I think Bungie needs to bring back. All of them are fantastic. All of them are pretty memorable for the most part. I definitely think any one of these could have come back with Into the Light. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments what weapons you'd like to see return, or if you agree with my list, or whatever it may be. If you'd like to see a PvE list of weapons Bungie should bring back, let me know down in the comments, as well as click the like button. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.